I'm $1 million in debt. Let me explain. First of all, I think it's important for me to share my views on debt and how I'm planning on turning $1 million in debt into $1 million in cash. Let's start with a common misperception, and that is that debt is bad. Now, don't get me wrong, debt can be horrible, happiness sucking, joy killing, bad dream, nightmarish, but it can also be amazing. Bad debt would be any type of consumer debt for stuff that you can't afford. And in order to find out if you can afford something, if you have to justify that you can afford it, you cannot afford it. Like if you're trying to do the mental gymnastics in your head on, well, if I only pay $200 a month for the next 7 years for this car, then I can afford it. You can't afford it. Same thing goes with credit card debts. Americans are in an insane amount of credit card debt that's high interest consumer debt for stuff that you probably don't need. The average unpaid balance for credit cards in America in December of 2022 was $7,297. Let's say that you bought a house back when interest rates were a little bit better, around 3%. It cost $500,000. People like Dave Ramsey would tell you to pay off that debt as soon as humanly possible, and a lot of people choose to go that route. However, they are not doing the math. Over the next 30 years for that $500,000 home, you're gonna pay $423,000 worth of interest, which does sound horrible. You're pretty much doubling the price of the property. But if instead somehow you had $500,000 laying around, or you wait to actually pay cash for that property, save that $400,000 that you would have paid in interest. However, if you had invested $500,000 and let that sit for 30 years, gaining 10%, which is the average of the stock market, you would have almost $10 million. Well, $9,918,000, but a lot of money. So there is such a thing as good debt. Instead of paying off a 3% debt, mathematically, you should go and invest that money and earn 10% on it and make that 7% difference. So sometimes debt makes more sense to borrow money, even if you don't need it, because you can make more money by investing. So let's talk about my $1 million in debt. I got my first debt when I was 22, and it was $193,000. So for this one, I put down $6,500 with a 3.5% down FHA loan. Between that and the renovation, it literally wiped out my entire life savings. So I actually took out more for that mortgage than I needed to. I asked for an extra $10,000 back towards closing costs. So that's kind of how I got my down payment so low, is instead of using $10,000 in cash, I put it onto the loan at around 3%, because that is pretty much free money. I will never actually pay that money back. And I will save $10,000, which I can invest for way more than 3%. So we spent our entire life savings renovating one unit. The other two were already rented out. The rent for one of them was $800 and the rent for the other one was $950, and $100 for the garage. So in total, while living in one of the units, we were making $1,850 a month, while our mortgage, taxes, and insurance were around $1,500. They've gone up a little bit recently because of taxes. Yay. But we were pretty much able to live for free. And eventually when we moved on, we rented that out, and we were able to start making an extra $1,000 a month on top of that from renting out our unit. So a year after I moved out, I had made back all the money that I ever put into this property. And now I'm gonna make money on that every single month on top of building equity. By the way, if you're enjoying this video and getting any value at all, don't forget to subscribe. We're giving away $1,000 to somebody who subscribes before we hit 500,000 subscribers, hopefully by the end of the year. So just click it. So yeah, it's free. So the next one I got was about a year and a half after that, and it was this triplex. The mortgage on this one was $352,000. So this is 2 4-bedrooms and a 1-bedroom. We completely renovated both of the 4-bedroom apartments. Now, a lot of people thought that I couldn't get another first-time homebuyer loan for this second property, which I got into for 5% down, so it cost a little bit more. Ended up draining my entire life savings and being down to like nothing. And then I quit my job on top of that, well, not really earning a lot. But I always followed the math, and it mathematically made sense, which I'm about to explain to you. So we renovated both of those units. So while we were living in one of the units, we had another one rented out by the room. So we had 4 separate Airbnbs going in one unit. And while we were living in our own 4-bedroom apartment, that property was making $5,000 a month. And the mortgage, taxes, and insurance are $2,591. So while we were living there, we were making around $1,500 to $2,000 per month. So even though we had this insane amount of debt, again, we were never actually paying for it. And after a year of living there, renovating everything, we were able to move out. We shut down the Airbnb, just rented out everything long term. And even though there are 3 units now that are rented instead of just 2, we're still making about the same amount. So it's still right around $5,000 a month that we're making. The mortgage payment stayed the same, less to hire a property management company for that. So I'm making a lot less than I was before, but it's still cash flowing. Then we have the house that we're at now. The loan for this house is around $450,000. And this is a single family with an attached dwelling. So we're living in one side and we are renting out the other side. In total, our mortgage taxes and insurance for this side are $3,019, and we rent out the other side for $2,000. So in total, it does cost us about $1,000 a month to live in this house, which is a really good deal. We literally couldn't get a 1-bedroom shack for that in our town. And with all of these properties, we are not only going to be making money every single month, except for this one, which I'm not sure what we're going to do with it afterwards. We're either going to sell it because it has gone up in value a decent amount, or we're going to find a way to turn it into a duplex and rent out both sides individually. So with all of these debts, we're going to make money every single month. And then in 30 years, all of these 3 properties are going to be paid off by the tenants. We're never actually paying for them. We're just providing them a great place to live, taking care of everything. We risked every dollar that we had in order to buy them. And in return for my retirement, each property has already gone up like 25%. So I'm guessing in the next 30 years, it will at least double. And if that is the case, we should turn under $100,000 of total money into $3 million in cash if we wanted to sell all these properties, which is absolutely insane. And that's why I tell everybody I know about house hacking, because it really works. Debt is not a bad thing if you use it correctly and you do the math right. And even if our property values go in half, it doesn't matter because we're still making money every single month. So that's just a cherry on top of the ice cream sundae cake thing. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next week.